I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. What a great city Houston is. I'm so thrilled to have our next guest. He's here in Houston. He's here from New York. Now, Houston is his place to be, and we're so fortunate to have his expertise in our great city. Representing the Houston Symphony, he is the Executive Director and CEO, and that's none other than Gary Ginstling. Thank you, Gary, for joining us.
Hi, Lara. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, how many months has it been now since you've been in Houston?
It's been about a year actually that I've been here.
Already been a year?
Mm,
Oh my goodness. I feel
yeah.
like you just got here and we were at a local restaurant getting to know one another, and it's been a year already. Well, I'm going to start with that. What do you think?
Oh, I have to say, Houston is a fascinating place, and when I think of Houston, I think of just an amazing can-do attitude, and honestly, the word opportunity comes to mind. This city just is so encouraging for people, and I feel the same way about the Houston Symphony. That we're at a point where there's just so much opportunity for the future. There's such a rich arts and culture community here, and everyone's been welcoming and supportive, and it's been fascinating to learn about the city, and I'm excited to see where we go next.
And very welcoming, as you mentioned, especially coming from New York to a city like Houston, where I don't know how much you knew about it, but you were smart enough to say you take this opportunity. We've got great philanthropists, number one. Number two, a great community. And then opportunity, as you mentioned, with the symphony. I think when you look at the global landscape, what do you see as an opportunity for the Houston Symphony and for Houstonians?
Well, look, the Houston Symphony it's more than 100 years old. And actually, the Houston Symphony history is really the history of Houston. It grew as the city grew. And the founders of the city wanted to ensure that there was great arts and culture in the city. And that's really in the bones of the Houston Symphony. And what I found when I looked at this organization and at this city was an orchestra that's playing as well as any other orchestra in any other city in the United States. Our music director, Juraj Valchua, who comes from Slovakia and is just an incredible artist. He's in demand all over the world. We have him right here in Houston. And, for me, one example of the kind of validation of what I'm talking about is a few weeks ago, it was announced that the Clyburn competition, which is a famous piano competition in Fort Worth, Texas, came to us and asked if they could launch a new competition for conductors using the Houston Symphony here and doing it here in Houston. And so this is going to be an international event on the classical music stage in 2028. For their last piano competition, I think they had nearly 100 million views online from 180 different countries. So it's a real international event. And we're going to be right at the center of this new one that's launching in 2028. Just one small example of how the Houston Symphony is sort of building its reputation beyond the boundaries of Houston.
And not only that, but adapting to changing times, changing demographic. When you look at Houston and you realize that the landscape consists of, more than 45% of the demographic being Latino, Hispanic, when you look at the demographic of 70% of all Latinos being between the ages of 18 and 44, a very young community. So speaking of young, tell us what you're doing with this next generation of Houstonians to engage them and make them part of the symphony.
Well, supporting young people and sharing music with young people has been at the core of the Houston Symphony's mission forever, really, since its earliest days. And we, for example, this season will have served over 60,000 upper elementary and middle school Houston students who come to Jones Hall and get to experience the full orchestra in Jones Hall. That's the most we've ever served before, and we're really we'll be doing weeks of student concerts. You'll see rows of yellow buses lined up on the streets around Jones Hall, and we're really impacting kids that way, and hopefully persuading them to continue to train on their instruments and play in school bands. But not only here in Jones Hall, we go out into the community. Our In Harmony program is now active in both the second ward and the fifth ward, where we are introducing kids through an after-school program to musical instruments, getting them to play for the first time. This is a really special program that we're hoping to grow even further and reach as many of the youth in Houston. So we're committed to sharing music with kids all across the city and, of course, here in Jones Hall.
That's excellent. I'm sure for most of the young people on those yellow school buses, it's the first time they've been to the symphony, but hopefully with your help and your team, it won't be the last time. Gary, as we're wrapping up the conversation here, please let us know what you'd like to share with the audience.
I think there's a real question about the role of the arts in our society, especially in times that feel really kind of heavy. There's a lot of geopolitical conflict and tension. You just have to open up social media or turn on the news. And I actually really think it's at moments like that where the arts matter more than ever. I like to tell people that you come to the Houston Symphony and it doesn't matter what happened during your day. It doesn't matter what happened in the world. You come into the walls of Jones Hall and you can just escape all that for a couple of hours and hear some great music. That's for me what the arts are all about. They're representing the pinnacle of human creativity, and we want to share that with as many people as possible. And even in times when times are tough, we think the arts are really important to give people hope and a positive message for the future.
Well, and you and your team are doing that every day. Gary, it's so nice to get to see you. And thanks for all that you're doing for our great city. And know that you have a partner in the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I look forward to seeing you very soon.